What is the bridge? I ask the devout. A path from here to there, say the only three people who showed up. Their voices echo through the open space, underlying how severely the herd of faithful has been thinned. We used to have pride in our history. We used to have traditions. Now, kids today don't respect the old ways. They don't believe. Why is the bridge? I ask the devout. The bridge holds the toll booth. The toll booth has the coins. The coins own the world. That's from the story that didn't make it into Chris's new anthology. Imagine what made it in. So, John, let's play our favorite game. Which of our guests? I guess this is a problem, isn't it? Uh, oh,
You can
this
ask
is a
me,
problem.
instead of asking which of two gets, you can ask me which of two wacky facts.
Ah, okay. Which of two wacky facts are true about our guest?
There we go.
Okay. He is secretly a pulp superhero, or he is not so secretly a podcaster.
It's not so secret, and he's totally a pulp hero.
Yes. So,
That's
Chris,
that's my
which
story,
pulp
and I'm
hero
sticking
are
to it.
you?
Which pulp hero am I? Hmm. Bronx guy. The guy who walks around and gives you shit.
There you go.
Yeah. Jamal Hodge has an event early next month called I'm Not Nice, I'm a New Yorker.
There you go. We are nice. We're not
Yeah.
kind.
Yes.
We're
We're
helpful.
kind, we're
We're not
not
kind.
polite.
We're
There's a
kind,
That's
we're
it.
not
difference.
Kind
polite.
but
Yeah,
not
there you
polite.
go.
That's correct. I think that's the best description. Jamal, get
Yes.
to rewrite. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. We will lift a car off you, and while other people pull you out, but we'll scream at you that you're making us late to work while we're doing it.
Right. What the fuck? Hey, come on.
Oh, come on. None of us like anything more than arriving at work. That's our favorite thing.
It depends on the
Depends
work.
on the gig, bro. Depends on the gig.
The
Yeah,
union guys are better at it than the rest of us.
that's right.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Chris.
Yes.
Um, I've lately gone from virtually no conventions to way too many conventions.
Yeah.
What's your convention schedule look like? You're showing up for readings and conventions and events and stuff.
Um, you want a very, very honest answer? It's a little early in the show to be getting this deep, but I struggle with that, and I'm getting better. Um, yeah, I did for 30 years. I was in front of the classroom and very public. I have in the past been an actor, a stand-up comedian for a brief time, a sketch comedian, an indie film actor, a small local actor. I've done all that stuff, but for some reason,
So as
uh,
long as there's some distance between you and the crowd, it's okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I get that.
And you know what? I'm getting better at like if you're at doing the table work, and that kind of stuff. I'm more comfortable there. And at smaller places, I'm much more comfortable. But like I was shocked at how much I've been struggling with big things like StokerCon and that kind of thing.
Oh no, Ryan,
Um,
I don't have the experience, but I very much understand and empathize with the experience.
yeah, yeah. So it's fascinating, but
Yeah. I mean, I
you know,
always tell people my happy place is in front of 300 people when the topic changed as I'm walking up to the podium.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, but my analog to your situation is I can't attend anything if I don't have a job.
yes, okay, yeah,
Even if I'm only
yeah,
working for an hour, I can be social a whole weekend if I've got an hour's worth of something I'm
yes,
responsible to do. I just did that down in San Jose for the
right,
Music and Gaming Festival. I had an hour I had to do something. I was
yep.
fine. If I had shown up with nothing to do, I wouldn't have shown up.
If I'm
I Yeah,
if I'm invited to do a reading or asked to be on a panel, it helps a tremendous amount. Or asked to, I have taught for so long that I
yeah.
am very capable of that as well. Um, Otherwise, the little letter on the shoulder starts whispering in the ear, "Why are you here?" Well, So yeah, you know, and
So
it's,
what
you know,
about you, John?
yeah,
Yeah, for me, I always go to a con with something to do. It's just the way that I am structured. This weekend is going to be Anime NYC at Javits Convention Center. I have nothing to do. My nephew will have a lot to do. He's got people he wants to talk to. He's got booths he wants to visit. He's got shows he wants to look at. He wants merchandise he wants to buy. He has he's got his voice actors picked out, people he wants to meet and
cool.
Yeah.
and exchange information with. And to me, it's just so overwhelming because I haven't really been into anime in like 20 years. I
Yeah,
can discuss anime. I know what I'm talking about usually.
Yeah.
I know the history, I know the shows, I know the artists and all that. None of those people will be there.
Yeah.
So
right.
I will be
Yeah.
wandering around trying to learn more about what is going on, what the comics are like, what the shows are like, who the people are, and that's going to be my day. Yeah, we're gonna meet up for lunch, and that'll probably be it. So 3 or 4 hours of that, and that's kind of the end of my road. StokerCon, I was helping with the table. I was helping my wife
Yeah,
with her stuff.
You had a
yeah,
We
panel.
go to we go to a reading at the Shade Bar. I was the stand-in.
Yeah.
I was an evil cookie when she was reading her short story.
that's right. I
Um,
missed that.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
actually pretty funny. It went over well, so lots of laughs, lots of smiles. So I'm pleased to have helped that way. When I was working with Gateways Magazine back in what 1988, 89, and we had shows at Gen Con, I was working at the table
Yeah.
yeah,
4 days. You know,
yeah.
so
So
if yeah, my mind is pretty closely structured the way yours is, Chuck. I need to be doing something,
Yeah.
or I lose my mooring. I lose
Reason
my
for being
concentration.
there, right? Reason for being there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
Um, I
Yeah.
was a
Gate.
journalist for a
Yeah.
bunch of years. I could go anywhere. I could go and take
Mm.
on the DA or speak to, street guys. Um, no problem, but you have to have, just
Oh yeah.
point me in a direction and give me a purpose, and then it's much easier. Yeah.
Well, you see, I did what I call small J journalism, which is I worked on Gateways that John worked on, which was one of the first magazines to talk about the interconnection between different media for the same
Right.
properties and how fans had an increasing voice and an opinion that you put the
Right.
wrong sky on the lunchbox behind the guy and he's got the wrong number of pips on his uniform
Right.
and
Right.
that was starting to actually matter to corporations despite their best efforts to not care.
Right.
Mm.
Um, but you see, I used to say I'm a journalist because I did that. I worked for Spectrum, for Database Trends magazine. And
Right.
one day I met my friend Jennifer through the Alumni Association of my high school. And she said, "You talk like a journalist." And I started going through it. And she was like, "I was on the Latin desk for the LA Times." I was like, "Oh, I'm not a
Wow.
journalist." So when you're talking about the journalism you did, Chris, it's like, no, I'm not a
Well,
journalist.
I mean,
John's not a journalist. But
I was in Bronx weeklies. That was mostly, and then I was in the chief leader down in Manhattan,
yeah,
covering unions and stuff. So none of my papers were uh, thicker than like 55 pages at best. Mostly they were like a 40 pager.
yeah,
But for me, especially in the Bronx, I took that stuff very seriously, and
oh yeah.
it was a great experience. Learned to write quickly and
Yes.
organize on the fly. Yeah, it was great training.
Quickly with research, with
Mhm.
accuracy, respecting deadlines, understanding it's a craft, not just an
Yeah.
art. Yeah.
Yeah, and to, if I know I have a hole in the story, not to freak out. No, I know to go back there, put a little asterisk, and then it really helps to build that writer confidence there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
When you were talking about how you react to these big conventions, did you hear Sarah Reed's speech at StokerCon?
I don't think so.
She was given the Volunteer of the Year award, and her speech
Okay.
started with, "I was raised to believe if I wasn't useful, I didn't deserve to be loved. I'm glad I turned my trauma into something good."
Yeah.
And my heart just like got ripped out of my chest when I heard that.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel for you so badly. I reached out to her afterwards.
Part of it, and I don't want to sound negative to anything, is when I'm knocking, if I'm let in, then I can flourish.
Yep.
That hasn't always been my experience. Sometimes no one opens the door.
Yeah.
And then, like you redirect, that's, I think, one of the reasons why. Plus, all the papers I was in were always independent presses. So that's part of the, you don't knock on the door, we go and figure out a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, those kind of
Sometimes you
things
just
become
gotta.
very important.
So I'm sorry, John.
Sometimes you just have to start your own rooms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wherever I am, that's my newsroom.
that's right.
That's very cool stuff, and it's interesting the formative stuff that takes us. It's like when I deal on the computer side, I always tell people I started in tech support, so I look at a program as to when it breaks and 300 people can't work, what do you do to get it
Right.
working soon?
Right.
And like you were saying with journalism, it's that same kind of thing. You start out with, I have deadlines. It is a product at some level.
Paper's
It
going
needs
out.
to be factually accurate. It needs to be on time. The train will leave without me if I don't show up at the station. And it's a very different way than the people who, sit there and go, oh, it needs to be perfect. And I need to spend 300 years making it perfect. I was talking to people like that at the convention. It was like, no, write crap, get it done. You don't have to publish it if it's not good, but just keep writing because you'll get the muscle, you'll get the speed.
Right. I'm a big believer in, first draft, let it suck, just get it done.
Yeah.
And then it's the simple part. You just have to keep making it suck less until it's good.
Yeah. So there's a reason why you're on this time. So we're gonna let you flip the table and reverse the script like you were gonna, and
Okay.
you can play host, and we'll be your guests.
Well, the reason I'm here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is that speaking of all the independent stuff, you knock on the door and then you go your own way. I did go my own way in the service of the horror community. At least that was my perspective and continues to be my perspective. I created a thing called Soulscream Antholozine. I'll show you one of the issues of it. There you go. Hey, look at that. That's Soulscream Antholozine. And the thing that it was meant to be is a mashup of an anthology and a magazine, thus the creation of the new word antholozine. Trademark Chris Ryan. And the idea was to search out a couple of names that have some weight, and then working writers that just knock this stuff out, and then make room for writers who need that first publishing break or the second notch on their belt or whatever you want to call it. The idea was to have a little bit of that mix, a name that people might recognize, and a bunch of writers that people might be delighted that they found. And I said, well, what else can I do? What would make it a magazine flavor? And I said, well, interview every author, whether it's a short story or a poem or nonfiction essay, do an interview with them so that people who say, I know when I really like a story, I immediately want to know something more about that author. And I'm never satisfied with the little paragraph. So every author will get an interview. And I said, well, what else can we do to make it fun? I realized that if I am doing the interviews and I write my byline, God, that's boring. So I created a staff because that's what I could afford to hire. So there are 3 or 4 different interns who do the interviews, and I had to create voices for each one of those. And that's kind of fun. Some people might get a kick out of that. One is like really crazy People magazine type tone. Another one is very young and she's very enthusiastic and kind of a wow writer. Oh, this is so great. And then there's one who is the critic, yes, I want to be as professorial as possible. Um, and I thought it would be fun if I had a managing editor who was more than human. Thought that would be a little fun. And then maybe we'd see that person and her friends on adventures. I would write those short stories. And so you can kind of choose your own entertainment. If you read Soulscream Antholozine, you can read a short story of somebody you know. You can read a story of somebody you've never heard of before. If you like them, you can read an interview to learn a little bit more. But if you really just kind of want to see what the adventure is, if you're curious and adventurous as a reader, you can read it from cover to cover, and you get back, get to see the office or behind the scenes, as well as seeing the stories. And there's a theme for each issue. So you get to see how different creators, how different writers will approach the theme of madness or, being inhumane to other people or, science runs amok or whatever. And It's all in the name of community. It's all in the name of giving a really affordable read in times when people could enjoy that. So there you go. That's what's happening. And we're finally coming out with issue number 8, which is Soulscream Antholozine. Madness Takes Its Toll. And I wanted tonight to bring you, the viewing audience, 2 of the authors who appear in Soulscream Antholozine, Madness Takes Its Toll, which is available now on Amazon for pre-order. And I am becoming audacious in my struggles with Amazon to get the print out. It should be out either by August 21st or August 26th. There's one more hurdle to get through. We've gone through many. I think Esther and Kat, and I think the new one today was Jane, who have been inching me along with all these little technical problems. Now they're saying that they don't recognize my barcode. And you know what? We could sell you one ourselves. We could put our own barcode. So it's right there. It's right there. So we're working on that. But so I went to great trouble to drag 2 authors. You may have heard of them, may not have heard of them. But we have Charles Barouch and John Frater, who have been kind enough to submit stories. They're very well paid at Soulscream Antholozine. As you can see, they're wearing diamonds right now. But they both leapt at the chance to do what inspired them when they heard Madness Takes Its Toll. So, which one of you would like to read first? I think it's going to be John.
Okay, I guess it does that.
All right.
All right.
So,
I'm not
John
gonna have
Frater,
time.
tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you start writing there, John?
I started writing when I was 10. Been writing for the past 5 decades. Eventually, I'll figure out what I'm doing.
I
I
got to tell
think
you,
I'm doing better than I used to, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But I'm
I,
gravitating to other bits and pieces. College was weird. College, I just ended up writing absolutely everything we could think of. We wrote plays, we wrote video scripts, we wrote radio plays, we did the lyrics, you composed music, all kinds of wacky stuff.
I wrote
None
a
of which I
whole
do
book of bad
today.
poetry. Yes.
Plenty
So
of I was the editor in chief of the Queens College English Club poetry magazine for 3 years running. So
nicely
that was
done, sir.
we called it Pandemonium because we thought we were being edgy and cool,
Oh, yeah.
and we were so edgy and cool that they almost defunded us.
Excellent. That's pretty edgy. Or mainstream America, if you're thinking in 2026 terms. Um, I was really thrilled when you sent a story, Soul Scream's way. Can you tell us a little bit about it, please?
This story actually got repurposed from a previous anthology that I had submitted to. It was not accepted for that one. That anthology never actually came together, which is a shame because I think it was a really neat idea for an anthology. Ultimately, the story is about dancing and what it means to us and why we dance it and why and who we dance for and how we dance and what it means to be a human who dances. Um,
And may I say,
oh,
it was a thrilling story to get for Soul Scream. So thank you.
you're welcome. All
Can
right,
you can
so
you give us a little
I'm
bit?
not gonna have. I don't think I'll have a chance to time to read the whole thing. So we'll just
No,
get to the
just give them a taste.
get
We
you
want them to
into the
buy the
thing,
damn
and then
thing.
just tell the damn story. Yes, I know.
Okay.
All right, there we go. It'd be nice if my computer would cooperate. The title of this story is "We Dance." Okay, Anderson, you like the desert, right? Anderson leaned back in his office chair. He'd been studying social media feeds all morning, trying to learn more about the dancers. The American CDC had referred to them as an epidemic more than once. The desert sounds like a nice change of pace, he allowed. What's there? Burton's grin widened. The stat boys discovered where it started, they think. 20 groups of indigenous people started dancing at almost exactly the same time across the world. North America, Japan, and here in Australia. You interested? Anderson paused a moment as he considered the obvious questions. Just coincidence, right? Maybe. What if there is a connection and we bring it home? He thought about it. What if, indeed, promotions, fame, fortune? You coming with me? You and me. Carter's already on the scene. We can meet him there. Meet him there. We leave in 2 hours. 2 hours? You couldn't have cut it any closer? Why wait? Also, there's a caravan heading down there. Food, meds, shelter, all that stuff. I got us 2 spaces on the bus. Anderson opened his mouth to ask another question, but he was shushed by his coworker. It'll keep. We're heading to the great northern freaking desert. Let's see. The mission was Anderson and Burton's, but the caravan was Orit Kahane's. She was a 90-pound, 4'10" former Israeli intelligence officer turned linguist. The dark sunglasses perched on her nose, identical to Anderson and Burton's, were the only obvious link to her status as a bureau employee. The rest of her looked ready for a long trip to the outback. A dark-skinned woman worked with her, similarly attired. After introductions, Anderson stared at the woman and blinked when he sort of recognized her. I've seen you before. She looked up from the pack she was checking and smiled, a wide, toothy grin. Maybe. You got a teenage daughter? Yeah, she's 12. Close enough. You probably have seen me before then. Orit rolled her eyes. If you've heard the radio in the past 3 years, you've heard one of her songs, mate, she chided. This is Jess M., biggest pop star in the country. Anderson stared at her. She had a wide face with no cheekbones and hazel eyes, a hair taller than Orit, walnut skin. Not bad looking, but not pop star material, he'd have thought. What are you doing here? Jess zipped up the backpack and tossed it in the back seat of the safari. I got a call. Actually, my manager got a call and a visit from the boys in Darwin. I happened to be there for a show when all this came down. They said they wanted me to look at some native performance and named a ridiculous figure for my time. I said yes. And your tribal roots just happen to match, right? She shrugged. There are hundreds of tribes and dozens of native languages. Government types don't usually acknowledge that. But if I come out and call them racist fucks, I don't get paid. And yeah, it's interesting to come back home. Though my people are from Queensland, if the Alex Springs guys are using the native dialect, I probably won't understand much. Or I checked her watch. We should go. It's 4 days to Alice Springs across the Stewart Highway, and I guarantee there will be delays along the way. The two women rode up front, Orit behind the wheel and Jess riding shotgun. The two men rode in back. Supplies were crammed in every cubic centimeter of available space, which left them little room to move. Not much leg room, is there? Anderson grabbed. Uh, Deal with it, will you? We're on a mercy mission. He wondered about the mercy they could offer. Random people started dancing in a public space, and suddenly a crowd of them were there. Ordinary folks about their day just showed up and joined. No cause, no reason. It just happened, and it was spreading. That much they knew for a fact. I'm going to skip a little bit. Yeah. No one needs a description of a highway. Um, this is nothing, or it's insistent when they complained. The road is a two-lane sealed roadway. It has to be with all the cattle caravans heading between Darwin and Alice Springs. Now, you head off in any other direction, the roads are unsealed. Then you start seeing dust. They invented ways to pass the time. Orita just belted out Jess's entire catalog, but she good naturedly took up any tune anyone cared to sing, up to and including making up new verses to Dumb Ways to Die, the Metro Public Service bit. Burton had just worked out a shared rhythm between his attempts to drum on her headrest. Anderson had to admit he was good at it. After a while, the pounding became as regular as a heartbeat, and he switched patterns. She switched along with him. Anderson turned to him. You a music major? I didn't always work for the Bureau, and music majors make the best programmers, code breakers, and mathematicians. Traffic increased as they moved south. Vans and buses crowded them out. Excuse me. Crowded out tourists and day trippers. Sports cars, too, and crowds of bikers who tore past them more than once. All this for a few dancers? Jess wondered. Burton coughed against the dust. It is a big deal. According to Carter, they haven't stopped yet. None of them have. Let's see. They
Well, we
heard
cut
Alice
you there.
Springs before they.
They
Yep.
got to buy the book, you know. So the rest of
Yeah,
it.
I do.
And I personally need a description of the highway, so I absolutely have to get this anthology.
Fair enough.
The thing I'd say, John, that is so wonderful about this story is that, and I was gifted a few times in this volume. When you say madness takes its toll, people go to a very cliche place, but the authors here very often did not. One of the joys of your story is that right up to the very last word, you can really ponder and consider, are they insane? Are we insane for not joining in? Is it, so any kind of story that keeps the question going, that's the kind of story I want to share. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, pick up the Soulscream Antholozine number 8. Madness Takes Its Toll, and find out where John's taking us. So thanks again, John. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. This was a joy to submit and an honor that you accepted it.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I really did. Now I'm going to switch, if you don't mind, John. I'm going to switch and start talking about Charles's submission.
Totally.
Now, there's a twist in this story because with Charles Barouch, there is always a twist. So Charles actually sent me 2. One was very much Charles style, tongue in cheek, very much play on words. It was a delicious story, and it was the one I was going with. And then I read his other story, and I was hypnotized. I was fascinated. And once again, much like the situation with you, John, it presented a story that people could chew on when they were finished, that they could spend days pondering, was that real or is he insane? What decides that? And that leads them to their own reflections, and God, that's really doing service for the reader. So I don't know. I think Charles might have been a little disappointed, but I went with I went with this one.
I will find a home for Upholding the Faith at some point. That story will live somewhere else, and that's all right.
It's always issue 9, Charles.
I always tell people that I never want to be published because I'm a friend of the publisher.
Oh, yeah.
Or the editor. I always want it to be a thing that fits their market, fits their need.
Right.
I know this guy named Chris Ryan, and he keeps using this quote that says, every baseball game is somebody's first baseball game.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never want somebody to read a bad story for me. So I'm always okay with being rejected. In this case, I got rejected in favor of me.
That's right.
So it's kind of a mixed
you
thing.
beat yourself out.
and I will point out, as per what John was saying, the last thing I had in Soulscream was a reworking of a story that I had submitted somewhere else.
Right.
But this one was specifically something new, and I still blushing a little over the nice things you said about it. But if you want, I'll read a little.
Yeah, and people should know that, you know, I don't shy away if they've been refashioned, or even if it's a reprint, if it fits really well. The whole idea is to give people a collection that they want to go back to, and they want to say, well, what else is in there? You know, we all have a pile of anthologies where we've read 5 stories, 6 stories, but we haven't gone all the way through. And my goal is always to have such a wide range. Yeah, I grew up reading comic books, you know, and I would buy. I had this. I put the Sunday newspapers together, right, for Tony DeLillo, and I'd get 10, or then I got a big raise to $12 a week. But comics were 20 cents a piece, so I could put $5 aside, and on that Wednesday, buy 25 comics. And I would just put them in a pile, and I would just read one after the other, right? I read everything. Strange sports stories, whatever, anything, right? And the whole joy was I would pick up the next one, and that's when I would know what style I was reading. Yeah. So that's kind of what I try and infuse with Soulscream. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Charles. So tell us a little bit about this story, sir.
So I write from frustration. I see somebody write something and they skip over the part I'm most interested in. And this is that kind of thing. I've seen so many stories where the brave knights are defending the hill.
Right.
And that's a set piece. It's there to establish things. It's not the story. And I kind of wanted to put the brave knights up on the hill and make that the story. You know, one of the things I loved about original Twilight Zone is they would sometimes tell very, very small stories that the entire time period was real time. It was, if it was a 30-minute episode, there was 30 minutes happening in the story. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to do here, where every moment counted in it, where it was really connected to the idea of, yes, there's a few different trips to the hill in this, but essentially it's that one tiny bit of defending this one spot and what happens when that becomes your life. And so this is a little bit of Tolma and the Spiral Hill.
Yes.
My armor chafes. I drop my sword back into my scabbard. I know that my king, my commander, will likely call me out for not cleaning the blood and gore off my blade first, but I'm too tired to care. 6 of the enemy are dead at my feet. Around me, plenty of other raiders dispatched by the 10 who marched to the border with me and our king. No man who stood against us lives. Tolma! My name is shouted, but not by the king. It's the voice of Tanak, the knight closest by. He falls, then another, and soon it's only the king and myself alive on the hilltop, all the rest brought low by an unseen force. I move to my liege's side. We stand back to back on the spiral hill, looking for danger. The bodies of our enemies have honest wounds. Our comrades show signs of battle, of course, but no indication of how death claimed them. We should, all of us, be immune to magics. Our armor carries a strong protection cast by the wizard Bethella himself. Why us? King Creona asks, his grief clear in his voice. 10 struck down, but not you or I. I agree calmly. If we are next, knowing will be a small comfort. If we live, the answer might tell us the source. Tell us who we must kill in vengeance. Have you no heart? The king asks. You speak with a natural, even nature. You should not be surprised. This behavior of mine is not new to him. I was always this way in the last battle season, and the one before that. I bite back my real answer to his question. He would not receive it kindly. My apologies, I respond instead. See, my heart was riven when my lady love died 2 seasons back. I've no passion, no feelings other than the anger since that terrible moment. Fighting the raiders gives me a place for my rage, but grief? I'm denied that. There's none in my experience. The only small mercy I've had is the absence of that disempowering emotion. Fear bides the king to stay and watch and worry. Loyalty keeps me to him. Not respect, merely dedication. He is a strong man when handed a sword, but any and all other tasks seem to take him low. And now he stands with his sword out and quakes. It's the loss of its last good use. Not that I say any of that aloud. Same wasting disease which claimed my fair Alina, claimed our good queen. Of the two, king and queen, her crown was the only one that rested level. Without his lady, our liege's best kept at the border and never in the seat of power, and now his fears have ruined him. I will not depart when we leave this hill. It is settled into his bones. You don't seem scared, Tolma, not even for yourself, the king complains. If we wish to live, we should move, I reply. Your armor might or might not be better warded than mine, but all these men who stood with us had the same protection I enjoy, and you see what became of them. That spurs him to motion. He runs down the hill. I follow a hair more slowly. He catches his foot. The weight of his armor prevents him from recovering his balance. He only tumbles a short way before being caught up by a boulder. I hear the dull metal thud of the jolting and abrupt stop. I help him to his feet. There's blood on his lip, possibly other places, but it'll be unknown to me until he removes his armor, or until he makes complaint. My leg, he shouts. Broken, I ask? No. Then we continue, only slower and with eyes cast toward the uneven ground. And that's the beginning of Tolma and the Spiral Hill.
One of the great treats of that is the voice with which it's told. The reasons that voice is the way it is slowly peel so you can see more and more of this character. And by the final word, you have a lot to think about. It's a really well done story. Again, it's in Soulscream Antholozine, issue number 8. Madness Takes Its Toll. And for both of those, and I think about 10 other stories, you can go and up until Labor Day, you can get the ebook for about $2.99 because I always do a summer sale. And then, the paperback's going to be, it costs me, so it's going to be about $14.99. But a beautiful book. And we have a cover art by the great Christy Aldrich, who did some original art for us and redesigned all the Soulscream covers. So they'll have a uniformed look that is kind of a slight tip of the hat to the old Weird Tales covers. But Charles, again, fantastic.
Thank you.
What did you think about the finished product when you had finished it and maybe slept on it and had a bit of cereal and took a walk and whatever?
The funny thing for me is that I feel it's mine until I share it, and
Sure.
then I feel it's in hours for whichever hour that happens to be.
Yeah.
So when I share it with the writing group, it's a little less mine. When I share it with an editor and a publisher, it's a little less mine. When it gets published and it's shared with an audience, it's a little less mine.
Yeah.
So I always try to launch stories into the world with the understanding that it's not really my opinion once it's out there. It's everyone's opinion.
Sure.
Everyone brings their own stuff to a story, and I enjoy that part tremendously, that I'm writing half a dialogue and everyone gets to fill in the other half from wherever they're standing.
Yep. And there's a lot still for them to chew on for both of those stories. But I really, I had a similar experience when I finished reading each of your stories. Yes, they have to be part of the family. I want them in this collection. I want to say, hey, look at this. And I am so honored that I'm able to do that. So thank you both. And thank you for having me on and allowing me to kind of take over horror words for a couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes. So, reclaiming control of the show.
Yes.
Chris, what else do you have coming up? He said knowingly.
Well, we're going to get over that final hurdle and release Soulscream Antholozine. Man, this takes its toll to the world. And then I'll have just about enough time for a couple of breaths. And then I jump into something that I've really wanted to do for a long time. And then I just finally said, someday I'm going to be dead. Might as well do it now. So the next project, which is fast coming up, by Labor Day, I'll be deep into the production of it, is a thing called Pulp Never Dies. And what I did was I reached out to some people and said, listen, here's a list of public domain pulp characters. And I know what I'm going to pitch you, but grab someone that you want to play with and let's have some fun. And it started with my own podcast partner, Alex Simmons from Tell the Damn Story. He and I had done some public domain pulp characters fighting a similar evil. And I said, the project that we had done that for fell through. And I said, why don't we do it ourselves? Why don't we ask some people to come up? So Charles is in it, and James Chambers is in it, and the Bobby Dash, and a few others. It's going to be fun. And it's not the format of Soulscream. It's stories and a little paragraph blurb of the author, and it's just bang, bang, bang fun.
If I can give a shout out to Alex, because Alex Simmons picked out a character for me because I wasn't sure which one to do, and that made it all work for me.
That's really cool. That's really cool. We'll see. I don't know if John Frater is into pulp. And I don't know if he was into pulp, but if so, we got to talk quick, bro.
Send me a character and his backstory, and I'll see what I can do.
All right, I'll have to see if there's anyone left. I did forget. Oh my God, we have Tom Snagowski and Janine Atkinson doing Grim Death. He's that character, which is Tom's character, and they're going to be in there as well. I'm pretty excited. So it's going to be fun, and it's not as layered as Soulscream. It's just going to be, sometimes you host the party and sometimes you crash the party, and that's kind of what it's going to be. It's just, yes, how you doing? Oh, I love that stuff. I love that. Hey, let's go. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But that I'd love to get it. I'd love to get it out like late October, or just before election time. That would be cool. It's not a political piece per se, but it would be counter marketing to all the, hey, it's October, everything's got to be scary. And also November is always a time where you could almost slot anything in and people will be interested. That's when they start thinking about what their favorite things are. So hopefully that, the pulp people will be like, hey, yeah, let me have some of that.
Yeah, so you heard it here first. Chris Ryan is going to be in labor with this book.
Back-to-back labor. And they're going to be Irish twins, so is what they're going to be. There you go.
Yeah. So my brother and I have always looked very similar, and we're 7.5 years apart. And I always used to say we're twins, and it was a really long labor for Mom.
Really long labor, yeah. My wife's very organized, and we waited a while before having kids. And then she had twins, and they God bless her.
My wife's very organized. That's why we
It's
had
like a
twins.
2 for Tuesday, buy one get one free. And from the first sonogram, it was like a goober and a raisinette. So when we were pushing them around in the cabinet, in the strollers, it was those twin strollers. There'd always be some old lady say, "Oh, look at it! Look at it! Irish twins," thinking they were 9 months apart. I said, "Get out of here!" Oh my God, that would be so just inhumane. Oh, great birth, dear. Come on, let's do it again. Yeah. So there we go.
So wait a second. You manufactured 2 entire human beings, and they're not helping with Soulscream?
No. They are very, very passionate about what they do. One is a very successful high school baseball coach. He was coach of the year this year, and when he was very young, he let me know that's what he wanted to be. And when he was college, I kind of pushed him. I said, "Well, why not minor leagues? Why not?" He said, "Dad, this is the last time these kids play for the love of it." I said, "You got me, buddy." And the other guy helps to run a school for special needs, and he's amazing. So between the two of them, I am floored. So yeah, they do what they do, and I mean, my father was a cop. He didn't understand what the hell I was doing my whole life. So like, oh yeah, okay, buddy. But then he would still like leave a book out, leave out a paper bag of Guns of Navarone or something because he knew I'd. And then when I have the Bantam, or I think it was the Bantam reprints of The Shadow and Doc Savage, I used to pick those up at EJ Corvettes in the Bronx, and he'd see me read, and he'd say, "Hey, well, when you're done with that, leave it on my chair. I'm gonna read it."
Yeah.
Turned out that he had a bunch of them when he was a kid. So yeah. Fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, fellas.
And here you are producing Pulp Heroes.
Yes, doing what we can.
Yeah.
So madness takes its toll, and then Pulp never dies. And
very,
then
very
I'm gonna be like, oh God. Well, eventually I have to pick up my own projects and start getting them out too. I try to do that as well.
Well, you have a story in Pulp Never Dies, right?
I do. It was a defiant story. I wrote a story of Sally the Sleuth. And if anyone knows the background of Sally the Sleuth, she was like a 8-panel comic in like a mystery pulp or something. And by the 4th panel, the latest, they had stripped her clothes off. And it was, I really got pissed at that because she had a great character and she was so go-get-em and she was clever and she could put 2 and 2 together, and she never stopped fighting. She could be in her underwear, she could be in just her birthday suit, and she's still whack with that right hook. So I said, I'm going to write a story where that girl gets to keep her clothes on and we just get to see all her other talents. And anyone who's a old decrepit Sally, more Sally the Suit, this is not the book for you, buddy, because she's going to be a hero. So yeah, that's what I did.
Very, very cool.
Shortest story in the collection, but
well, it's only 8 panels, so
yeah, it's a little longer than that, and it's prose. But yeah, the pacing of her stories were always. So I gave it, a nod to that, and there you go.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing this and hosting this.
It's been my honor. Thank you.
Totally.
Always a pleasure. Sounds like the title of a poetry collection.
Yes, it's been a privilege, fellas.
Thank you very much, and we will see you guys soon.
All right, thanks.
And that's our show. If you are horror adjacent in books, comics, film, streaming, and want to be on the Horror Words podcast, email drownedrat@horrorwords.com. Good night.